Hey guys, it's Alexis, the Sloth Reader, and I'm here today to do the Avatar book tag. This tag was originally created by Hannah from A Clockwork Reader, who is a huge Avatar fan. I as well love The Last Airbender. I never did get to finish Legend of Korra, which I totally need to get on, but I do love the original Avatar series, so I was excited when she created this book tag because I think it's awesome. Water. Katara and Sokka, the best sibling relationship. For this one, I'm going to go with Rai and Kel from Shades of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Though they may not be brothers by blood, they do look at each other as siblings, and Kel was raised in the same family as Rai. And so they are brothers, and I love that their love for each other is so blinding to the both of them. Like, they don't realize when they're doing bad in order to protect each other. And I love that, and I love their relationship. It's one of the reasons that I fell so in love with this series, was just the utter devotion that they have to each other as brothers. So, my favorite star-crossed lovers. I don't know if this technically counts, but I chose one of my favorite romances of all time, and that is Elizabeth Bennet and Fitzwilliam Darcy from Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I guess they are star-crossed because their stations and social status do ultimately keep them apart until you just read the book. But I love their relationship. I loved it when I first saw the movie, and I actually loved it even more in the book because of how humorous it's portrayed by Jane Austen and how ridiculous it is. And so I've always really, really loved the relationship between Elizabeth and Darcy. Bloodbending, a book with a disturbing or unsettling concept. And for this one, I'm going to go with The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I haven't read this book yet, but I know that the premise is basically that in this society, girls are only, their only purpose in life is to breed and, reproduce and create more people. And that is just such a horrifying concept to think about as a woman, that my only purpose in life, as dictated by a government, would be for me to reproduce, and I think that is just absolutely horrifying. Earth. Toph, a character whose strength surprised you, or surprised characters in the book. And for this one, I'm going to go with Dorian from Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, especially in Heir of Fire, when he's going through some changes that are shocking to him, but ultimately do become very shocking to the rest of the characters in the book. And he has this very heroic moment at the end of this book that had me absolutely in tears. And I love Dorian so much, and I just want him to be happy. And he definitely uncovers this inner strength about himself, and it was surprising to me as well as to a lot of other characters. So, Tales of Ba Sing Se, best short story or poetry collection. And I don't have an answer for this one because I really don't read short stories or poetry. Just because I find short stories weirdly hard for me to read. For some reason, it takes me like months to read a short story collection. So I just don't read a lot of them, so I don't have an answer for this one. The Kyoshi Warriors, best warrior character. And I went with Rose Hathaway from Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. Rose is basically trained to be a warrior from a young age, and she takes that role very seriously, and she kicks ass, and I absolutely love Rose for all of her many flaws, but she is definitely a warrior, and she's killed many a Strigoi to prove it. Fire. Zuko, best redemption arc, or a redemption arc that you wish would have happened. And for this one, I'm going to choose the Gray Man from the Raven Cycle Quartet by Maggie Stiefvater. Ultimately, he is introduced as a villain, but by the end of the series, he became one of my favorite characters, and he became a huge asset to the Glendower gang. And I just loved how, at the end of this book in particular, he was willing to risk his life to save all of them, and I just thought that he was redeemed in his switching sides, and I liked how it was handled, and I really grew to love the Gray Man. Iroh, the wisest character. And I chose The Giver from The Giver by Lois Lowry. I absolutely think that The Giver is an incredibly wise old man, and through his wisdom, he guides Jonah so that Jonah can take his place, but also so that he allows Jonah to see the world for what it really is. And I love his wisdom in this book, so the giver. Azula, the best downfall. And for this one, I'm going to go with most of the characters from Hamlet by Shakespeare, but especially Hamlet himself. I think that Hamlet's ultimate downfall as a tragic hero is one of my favorite plot points in all of existence, and it's one of the reasons that I love Hamlet so much, and the reason it's my favorite Shakespeare tragedy. But if you haven't read Hamlet, or if you haven't seen Hamlet performed, I strongly urge you to, because the tragedy of Hamlet's character and his ultimate downfall is just absolutely fantastic. Air, Appa. Favorite fictional animal or pet? And for that one, I'm going to go with Darius from the Land of Elion series by Patrick Carman. Darius is a wolf who helps Alexa through her journey, and I loved his story so much about how he was separated from his family when the wall went up, and I loved how Alexa promises him that he can go back to his family, and that's the reason he helps her. And I loved the personification and the human tributes that were given to Darius, and that's one of the reasons I love him so much. Aang, purest cinnamon roll, and for this one, I'm gonna go with Levi from Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Levi definitely does make a few mistakes in this book, but he's also just a dream boyfriend. He's so cute, and he honestly means well all the time, and I just love that he's so accepting of everything that Kat does. And I love the scenes where he's like, I want you to read me your fan fiction, and he's just so cute, and Levi. And finally, Avatar State. A stubborn character, or a character that struggles with letting things go. And for this one, I'm going to go with Mare Barrow from the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. In both this one and Glass Sword, Mare struggles with the things that have happened to her and not letting those things cloud her judgment. And she's definitely very stubborn. I think she has a hard time listening to anybody but herself. And I think that's a huge issue. I mean, the only person she would ever really listen to was Julian, and even when he was giving her advice, she wasn't listening to it. And so I definitely think she's a very stubborn character. But for some reason, that makes her very likable to me. So I'm going to go with Mare. Alright, that has been the Avatar book tag. I love this book tag. I think it's absolutely awesome. Like I said, I love Avatar, so I love seeing an Avatar book tag. And I was really excited to think about these questions and remember my favorite characters, Zuko. And so, yes, I absolutely love this tag. So thank you, A Clockwork Reader, for creating it. I enjoyed doing it. So, bye guys.